show it to the world. Always follow the footsteps of our Lord. All roads that I shall walk on, sowing seeds of peace. This light that keeps us shining will be bright and brighter. Oh, we'll be bright and brighter. Oh, we'll be bright and brighter. Oh.
Sing this song along with me. Just open up your hearts. Feel harmony and peace inside yourself. Life is a great school, teaching always to do good. Learning that in order to be happy, we need to help. Learning to accept that everyone deserves respect. Uniting all their hearts with a gesture of affection. Finding our happiness will be spreading joy. There is no other way. Charity is the solution. Only one love, only one ideal. So love and peace in the world. Conquer us. Feel the life within ourselves, and love will certainly appear. And the world will be in peace. Sing this song along with me. Just open up your heart. Feel harmony and peace inside yourself. Life is a great school, teaching always to do good. Learn that in order to be happy, we need to help. Learn to accept that everyone deserves respect. Uniting all their hearts with a gesture of affection. Finding our happiness will be spreading joy. There is no other way. Charity is the solution. Only one love, only one ideal. So love and peace in the world. Conquer us. Feel the life within ourselves, and love will certainly appear. And the world will be in peace. Only one love, only love ideal. So love and peace in the world. Conquer us. Feel the life within ourselves, and love will certainly appear. And the world will be in peace.
Have you ever wondered what reincarnation is, and would you like to learn more about it? If so, come and join us to study and learn together about this and many other topics.
Source of love and radiates, warm in a power cold night, supporting comfort, supporting comfort, cascades flow down the mountain, calling the children of earth with love in their hearts, with love in their hearts. My soul never loses hope, because your love always teaches me the solution lies in our Lord. The solution lies in our Lord. Oh, my mother Zephyrina, harvest of wonderful blessings, make us more son a good Christian. Make us more son a good Christian. When life lends a hand, it's time to open up your heart. It is time to love one another. It's time to take part. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. When you give our heart in charity, our lives are transforming into songs. Our dream become reality, and we join Jesus for eternity. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. Lord, vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. When we give our heart and charity, our lives are transforming into songs. Our dream become reality, and we join Jesus for eternity. Blue crystal eyes, colors of the sky, rainbow beard, Santa look-alike. Shine on your brothers on earth, suffering, living joy, or in pain. Oh, crystal eyes, colors of the sky, rainbow beard, Santa look-alike. Shine on your brothers on earth, suffering, living joy, or in pain. Desde Menezes, Apostle of the Good, receive our prayers and also our hearts. Desde Menezes, Apostle of the Light, place our pain, our fear.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our public meeting. We thank everyone for joining us tonight. Before we start, we would like to share a couple of announcements. We ask you to turn off your phone notifications and find a quiet place to stay during this time if possible. Our meeting will have a 30 minutes presentation followed by questions and answers. Following the presentation, we will have a spiritual treatment with passes and magnetized water. So we invite you to set aside a container with water to be magnetized. We would like to invite everyone for our fourth Alta de Souza Fraternal meeting in Canada, which the theme will be planetary transition, the beginning of the new year. It will be a free and online meeting and is going to happen this Saturday, January 29th from 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. East. And now I have a video for you. We have no audio. Let's start again. Okay, the video was about the second invitation I have for you. And we are showing on our screen now. This invitation is for who wants to learn more about Spiritism. On February 5th, we will start a free and online course, Get to Know to Spiritism. And the registration link will be posted in the chat. So join us to start and learn more about Spiritism. And we also invite everyone to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube from the Spiritism Canada and the Spiritism Group Path of Life. And now we are going to do our opening prayer to start our talk tonight. So now I invite everyone to close our eyes, elevate our thought in God. Master Jesus, we thank you for the opportunity to be here one more Tuesday to start and learn more about Spiritism. Thank you for everything you have done for us, and we ask your protection and your love. Please inspire us so that we can always have the best word, the best action, and the best thought in the face of different situations in our lives. Please help us to be a better person and follow your example. May you bless our friend Indira, who will speak to us tonight, and may we can learn from her. We ask you to stay with us today and always. So be it. The topic of today's meeting, the special topic, is fear of spiritism. Why do we feel it and how to overcome it? And it will be facilitated by our friend Andiara de la Flora from North Carolina, United States. Our meeting is being transmitted through Facebook and YouTube, and everyone is welcome to write comments and questions in the chat, and we will address the questions and the comments at the end of the talk. And now we invite our tonight's speaker, Andy.
Thank you, Marceli.
Hi, Andy.
Hi,
Welcome
everyone.
back.
Good evening. It's great to be back in here. I'm very excited and I'm honored to be here with you all tonight, talking about this very interesting topic that is the fear of spirits.
It's a pleasure for us.
Thank you. So let's go ahead and get started. As I said, talking about fear of spirits. And we are gonna get started talking about, this misconception that usually people have, especially people that, are not really familiar with Spiritism. They usually assume that if we are spiritists, then we automatically are not afraid of spirits. And well, ideally, that would be the case. But it's not always necessarily like that. And these are just, some quotes that, we very often hear people talking, mediums that fear mediumship, saying, I fear mediumship, I fear developing my mediumship because I am afraid of spirits. Or other people may say that they believe rationally in the spiritual world, but they cannot even think of the idea of maybe, seeing a spirit. So as I said, this is more common than we think. And that's why we are all here tonight, to talk more about this, trying to demystify a little bit. And in hopes that we will learn something that will help us to overcome this fear. Before we dive deep into, the reasons why, some of us might be afraid of spirits and anything else, usually I like in my talks, I like to end with a reflection. Here, I'm going to start with a reflection. So I ask you all, this is not like a question of, of right or wrong answer. This is just a question for all of us to think. When we say, I am afraid, are we saying that we are afraid of the spirit or of the bad things that we imagine that they can do to us? And keep in mind that I am using the bad things we imagine. I'm not saying the bad things that they can do to us, okay? So keep that in the back of your mind because we are going to talk more about that. And, do we think, if we think that spirits are bad, if we think that there are spirits, that they have, let's say, lower tendencies, do we think that the shadow that exists in these lower spirits, it's any different than the shadow that exists on us? Because we are all here in a planet of trials and expiations. And this means that we are not perfect. We have, all of us, we have a lot of light inside of us, but we also have some shadows. And tonight in this talk, we are going to see that with the spirits, it's the exact same thing. The spirits that are out there in the spiritual world, they are very similar to us in here. And so we are going to talk more about that. Before we do that, let me actually go back. In this slide, we are going to cover a little bit why we fear. What is the reason, for the fear that we have? The number one reason is because of the horror stories or movies. And I can go ahead, if you guys allow me to be vulnerable, I'm going to go ahead and share a personal story. Growing up, I believe I was like 9 or 10 years old. In that time, the Exorcist move was a thing in Brazil. I am originally from Brazil. And so I watched that movie. It was in an afternoon. One of my best friend came over and we watched the movie together. But then I swear that for 3 months, I couldn't sleep well. You can imagine how hot it is during summer in Brazil. I would, in that entire summer, I would sleep all covered up because I was so terrified of sleeping and or of like a spirit appearing to me or anything like that. And that was triggered by that one movie that I watched. And in the same way that there are a lot of movies with horror stories, also people like to share stories like that. You probably have heard already, sometimes people are just together talking about, I don't know, life. And all of a sudden someone says, my cousin or my friend, she can see spirits. And then someone starts with these stories and everyone has something to contribute. And those stories are never stories about very enlightened spirits. They are always spooky type of stories. So, and this is something, that we as spiritists, we can help to demystify. Whenever we are part of a conversation, if someone is, going that route, we can actually start bringing light to it. Instead of sharing a story of like a spooky story, you could maybe share a story of, so many good examples, so many good spirits. You could share stories of Kardec or maybe Jesus. Jesus was a pure spirit with so much light that was here on earth. So anyway, this is the reason number one why people generally are afraid. Another reason, especially because, when we are doing therapy, usually, the therapists, they go very deep into the reason of our fears. Some say that being afraid of spirits is nothing more than a reflection than our fear of dying. And let's all stop and think. If someone is really afraid of death, do you think that this person would be comfortable interacting with someone who has already passed away? And so, the fear of death might be the very own cause that people avoid having any kind of interaction with spirituality. And sometimes, when we fear something, this is not really very clear in our mind. So I do hope that as a product of this talk tonight, I can maybe, leave you with some things for you to think, to observe inside of yourself, to be able, to find the answers of why is it that you fear. And understanding the root cause, you can probably work, to overcome it. The third most common reason why we fear spirits, and I feel that this is a common reason for all types of fears that we may have, is just ignorance or lack of knowledge. Humans in general, we tend to fear what we don't know. And so, for people that don't really understand what is that it happens to us after death, or how life is in the spiritual world, they might be afraid, and just the ignorance that we are going to talk tonight, the pure ignorance that we imagine. As I said in the first question, we imagine that spirits can affect us directly. Or we imagine that if I am feeling a presence right next to me, automatically we assume that this presence is of a spirit of lower vibrations. It doesn't necessarily. How about if it is your guardian angel, right? So it's just this lack of ignorance. And hey, if you paid attention to the beginning of before I started the talk, Marceli was inviting you all to start studying Spiritism. So, here it is, a good way of learning more, of overcoming our lack of knowledge, of our lack of ignorance, is to start studying Spiritism. And that course is really great because the way that the content and all the teachings are organized, it's very it makes of a very easy comprehension for everyone. So here's an invitation, just reinforcing. But okay, so let's keep moving. We have only 30 minutes. I have already started talking a little bit about this, but when we say that we fear spirits, do we fear the pure spirits? Do we fear Jesus? Do we fear seeing Jesus? Probably not, right? How many people, how many stories of, people who have seen Mary, the mother of Jesus, right? Usually, if we were to see a pure spirit, we would probably be okay. Usually, people, in the, let's say 99% of the cases, people are scared or are afraid of having to interact with spirits that are imperfect. So basically on the screen, you are gonna see that, so this is basically the hierarchy of spirits that Kardec introduced to us. So he said that there are pure spirits. Those spirits are like, as I mentioned, Jesus is an example. There are good spirits, and they are, spirits that have already left behind all their lower tendencies, and they are working towards, goodness, and hoping that one day they will reach the status of pure spirits. And there are imperfect spirits. And guess what? We are part of this category. We are part of imperfect spirits. Okay? So I'm going to ask you a question. And again, this is the type of question that is more like a philosophical one. There's not really an answer to it. But when we call a spirit a dark spirit, because usually, it's how people say dark spirit, wouldn't that be almost like a prejudice? Right? If we ourselves are imperfect spirits, do we think that once we discarnate, are we going to also be the ones that will be called dark spirits? Right? Maybe in a very recent past, who knows if before this incarnation here, when we were in the spiritual world, if other people would not consider us dark spirit. And sometimes this darkness might just be a lack of love in the heart of this spirit. This darkness might just be, that this spirit has so much suffering inside of himself. Just like us that are here incarnated, sometimes someone, how is the saying that they have, that I think it is, hurt people. So people who are hurting hurt other people, right? And meaning that sometimes when we have too much suffering inside of ourselves, we end up externalizing this. So the message here in this slide is just that we can extend some compassion, right, towards spirits. And, trying to stop using this word dark. How about using imperfect spirits? How about using spirits of lower vibration, maybe? Right? And within imperfect spirits, we always assume, so if we are talking imperfect spirits, we always assume that the spirit who is hurting or is suffering will be that exact spirit that we see in the horror movies. That's why we should not watch horror movies, because what those movies are portraying, it's not how things work. The movies portray spirits who can harm us physically, right? And in the vast majority of time, when spirits are trying to make us scared, it's not really because they are so, they hate us so much that they want to harm us physically. there is a category within the imperfect spirits. Kardec talks about the noisy spirits. In the screen, you are gonna see this photo of Casper. This was a very popular movie in the 90s, and here I am, dating myself. But this is just a perfect example. Casper, of course, he was a very sweet spirit, so he would not be a noisy spirit. But his brothers are the perfect example of spirits who just want to scare people and have fun. And so in the screen, you are going to see, this is from the Spirit Review, the Journal of Psychological Studies in Spiritism. And so it says, let me move the screen a little bit. It says that noisy spirits, that their only objective is to have fun. These spirits are rather frivolous than bad spirits. They enjoy the fear that they provoke and frequently remain close to an individual that they like to tease. Generally speaking, there is no reason to be scared. Their presence might be an inconvenience, but it's not dangerous. As a matter of fact, the desire to get rid of them is understandable. However, we almost always do exactly the opposite that we should do. If they are spirits having fun, the more we take it seriously, the more they persist. Like naughty kids that bother us, even more, the more we show impatience and scaring the cowards. So, who here had that very inappropriate friend who makes bad jokes? I believe we all had either a friend or a family member who likes to tease people. And it peaks on your weak spot and will be like saying so many jokes about you. The more you are mad, the more you react and you say something and you demonstrate that this person is affecting you, the more you are fueling this person to keep doing it. Now, if you start ignoring it, usually the person will be like, there is no point really to keep insisting if I'm not getting what I want in here. And so this is the perfect example of what some spirits, the noisy ones, as this slide says, it's the exact same thing. They are usually spirits that have not yet, understood the whole importance of working towards the enlightenment. And if they are in the spiritual world and they are not really interested to go to a better place, they might as well just scare people and make fun of it, and so I also, once I watched this talk from it was a medium in Brazil, and he was saying that he was watching The Walking Dead. And he is a medium that can see. So he binge watched a couple episodes of The Walking Dead. And then when he goes to his room, he said he entered the room and there it was, a spirit portraying himself as a zombie. And he said that, being someone who is already more experienced, with dealing with spirituality, he didn't really let himself to be scared, and then he tried to help that spirit and send light and all of that. But this is just I am bringing this up to you just as an example how sometimes they will also pick what is the thing that will impress us the most in that moment. And some of these spirits, they are silly, but they are not dumb. They are silly, but they might still be able, to manipulate the way that they are appearing to us. So they might as well, just choose a character from a movie or, something that will really scare you if they are trying to do that. But again, this is more, and as this slide says, it's more as an inconvenience than something dangerous, right? And here I am not denying, there are cases of of obsession. This is not really what we are addressing in here today. But even cases of obsession, um, it is nothing as the horror movies usually portray. It's nothing like that. And again, if someone is experiencing something that they might consider is an obsession, they are welcome to seek help in the spiritist centers. But here we are talking more about some spirits, a good chunk of them that just like to scare us out of fun. Moving along, just some points for us, for us to consider. Number one, we usually attribute spirits a power which they in fact do not have. And this comes from our ignorance, because only God and the really higher spirits, Jesus, for example, they are the only ones that can have real authority over us. And higher spirits like Jesus would never wish us harm. So this is something that can be very comforting for us. Whenever people are scared, you could, think about this. Number two, the essence of the spirits that sometimes we are afraid, it's a very similar essence than us. So the main difference is that our body is made of flesh and bones, and their body is more subtle. We cannot really see them unless they want to be seen by us. Number three, and this is so important, that sometimes, and this is also, a vast majority of time, when a spirit is manifesting or trying to, even the ones that are trying to scare you, they need help. They might be in need of help. They might be hurting, as I said, but we are always spirits that we should be working towards our progress. So we are going to discuss how we can send light, how we can say a prayer and try to ask the spirituality to help those brothers and sisters that might be in need. And number four, and I think that this is also so important if we are here discussing Spiritism, that it is necessary that we all face the interaction with the spiritual world as something natural, and that we also consider mediumship something natural. Because we are all more or less mediums. Some of us have the ability to see or to hear or to, things that are very, as we say, ostensive, mediumship. But everyone who is incarnating this planet is more or less medium. And so we should try to normalize that. And the more that we normalize this, the more that we read, that we familiarize ourselves with Spiritism and spirituality, the more we will face our interactions as something natural. And so let's also talk briefly about manifestation. And what is a manifestation? Is, whenever a spirit can really either make noises or show themselves to us, things like that. And this is also, why we come with the idea of haunted places. The belief in the existence of haunted places has its origin in the spontaneous manifestations verified in all time. So this is something that happens since the beginning of time. And also in the insistence of some spirits in showing their presence in certain places. We almost always imagine an evil spirit or an evil intention behind this phenomena, which doesn't correspond to reality. It can be a discarnated relative, someone unhappy or suffering, someone who just wants to talk to us, or someone who wants to give us proof of the spiritual reality and the continuity of life after death of the physical body. A great example in here And whenever you guys will be studying the get to know Spiritism, you will see this, that the beginning of when Kardec started um, drawing his attention towards Spiritism. So that movement was started here in the United States. Two sisters, the Fox sisters, in the house that they would live at the time, a spirit started making noises, and then they would ask question, and basically they would say, okay, if it is yes, just knock one time, if it is no, twice, and the spirit would answer. And so that, of course, this was like 1800s, and that draw a lot of attention from the press, and people. And in the meantime, in Europe, there was happening also something called the turning tables. So tables, regular tables were turning. They were like up in the air. And this is exactly what, impressed Kardec. And so he started all the work. The spirits actually said that all that movement, those manifestations, let's call it by the proper name, they were a way of calling attention from people, from the society, calling their attention to the existence of the spiritual world. And can you believe the result of this? We have all the entire Spiritist codification. It was a result of this. So this is a very good example of how our mind is very quick in always assuming, the worst of it. But it doesn't necessarily is a bad thing. It might be the case that, as I said, it could be your mentor, your guardian angel trying, to have more proximity with you. It could be, sometimes a relative, as it is said in this slide, someone who has passed away, needs help. It could just be that, you are supposed to develop more your mediumship, and little by little, spirits will start, almost like unlocking your mediumship. But anyway, the intent of this slide is just to make you aware that, the purpose behind the manifestation, it doesn't always equate, spirits that are trying to scare us or harm us. Okay. And so the fear. So let's talk about fear. I know I have just a few more minutes. The excessive fear, the feeling that we have, that we feel, it's an open window. So playful spirits, they enjoy scaring people, and if they sense that we are afraid, this will trigger them even more. It's almost like putting more wood into the fire, right? I'm not sure if you are familiar with like stories of vampires and things like that. So what is usually the story of the vampire? The vampire can only enter your house if you invite him to enter your house, right? This is usually how the story goes. And so here it's very similar. A spirit can only start affecting us or manifesting to us if our vibration is in symphony to their vibration, right? So how is it that we invite them into our houses? Is whenever, we might be vibrating in a lower state. And when this happens is when we are, sometimes sad, we are very angry. As I said, sometimes when we watch very violent things on TV or just, horror movies, something that will make us feel afraid, this is basically, putting us in symphony. Why do we pray? We pray so we can, be in symphony, so we can harmonize as a way of communicating with God and with the higher spirits. How do we feel after we pray? We usually feel good. How do we feel after we have a passe here in the Spirit Center? We feel good, right? Our vibration is high. So why is it that we keep watching things on TV or listening to music that sometimes might make us feel scared, might make us feel angry, or whatever it is? So this slide is an invitation for us to watch over, vibration, our vibration, and taking care of it. Love is very important, and I promise I'm gonna finish very soon. I'm not gonna take that long. Now, how can we help? How, let's start talking. How can we overcome it? Love is so important. As this slide says, love is the effective antidote to overcome fear and to help to eliminate it. The choice is to each one of us, fear or love. The same two things cannot coexist in the same emotional space. And here, as a very good example, I will never, there are books that you read in your life and you will never ever forget. And once I was reading the book Boa Nova. I'm not sure if this book is translated in English. I read it in Portuguese. But basically, this book talks about, Jesus and the apostles and the interactions that they had. And they were talking because, in the Bible, there are so many stories of, obsessions and Jesus curing them. So basically, the apostles, they try, to help two spirits, an incarnated and a discarnated, and they try to do a disobsession. And it didn't really work. And so they went back to Jesus and they asked, Master, we did everything that you told us to do, and it didn't really work. Where did we fail? And the answer that Jesus gave them was, you did not use love. So basically, whenever we are dealing with a spirit that we are afraid of, or in this case, they were trying to do a disobsession, we tend to think as this spirit, we tend to think of them as this thing that we need to get rid of, right? As this bad spirit, this bad person that we need to get rid of. And that's why it's never gonna work. Because the way of overcoming this, the way of helping, is by sending love, is by extending compassion, right? So this is already, here, a very important lesson for us. We are gonna talk precisely on what to do if we are in a situation of fear in 2 slides. And I'm gonna go back to talking about love. So what can we do? Take care of our vibration, as we just, discussed more extensively about vibration. Pray. Pray is so important. We all should pray every day before going to bed, especially because in our sleep, we are in constant interaction with the spirituality. So praying is very important. Doing the gospel and the gospel at home is vital because that will protect the environment of our houses, will bring good spirits, the good spirits that in that day, once a week, they are not only going to be there blessing you and your family, but if there is any spirit of a lower vibration with you in your house, they will also take care of that brother or sister. Trusting your mentor in the good spirits, that is so important. Usually we have this tendency to think that we are left unguarded, that we have no one to protect us. But if we call them, if we ask for their help, they will be here to help us. Okay. Know yourself and your power. This is another thing that I learned just very recently. Again, I thought that I was just so open and unguarded, and that, any spirits could affect me, and that I had no say on that, until someone taught me that we, as spirits, if we, as a being, if we are feeling an energy that is heavy, an energy that you are, I'm not sure if this happens to you. It does happens to me. Sometimes I am at work and I am like, curiously, nothing happened in my day. No one bothered me. My day is just fine. Everyone is healthy at home. My husband is just fine. Our relationship is fine. And I am feeling this sadness, or I am feeling this anger. And then I realize, if I have no reason to be feeling like that, it's probably because this energy is not mine. And in the past, I didn't really know what to do with that. Nowadays, I know that I don't need to accept that. That, I can say a prayer and I can ask Jesus to help me, to leave around me just my own energies and good energies. And I ask Jesus to help me to transform those bad energies, those bad feelings that I am having, into something positive, and send those feelings of love, of light, back to whatever spirit, to whatever source, emanated all those feelings. And I didn't know that, I had the power of doing that. No one ever had told me. And so I didn't know that I could trust on also on myself in doing that. Just, being here tonight, another way of protecting ourselves, taking passes, as we are gonna do in here, also helps tremendously. And finally, learning more about spirituality. And the Get to Know Spiritism course is a good way for you to learn more about spirituality. I'm going to skip this slide and I'm going to jump to this one. So we can talk in situations of fear. What can you do? Okay. So, and here I'm going to tell you about my story. So you can kind of, I think we learn better with storytelling. And I also like, to make myself vulnerable to others so people can empathize. So a few months ago, I had this horrible nightmare. And I woke up with a feeling that it wasn't really a nightmare, that, I was interacting with a spirit while I was asleep. And I woke up and I was really disturbed. It was very unfortunate experience. So what did I do? Number one, I had the gospel. Usually I have it in my nightstand. I opened the gospel. I tried to read a passage. Towards the end, they do have even like prayers that you could say, in that moment. So I read the gospel. I asked for Jesus. I asked precisely, I asked to my guardian angel, can you come? Can you help me in this moment? Can you help me protecting me right now? And then, so first, this was what I did. I asked for protection, because in that moment I was so scared that I couldn't really send light, even though I knew that I needed to send light, that I needed to send love to that brother or sister who was in need. Honestly, in that moment, I needed to calm down a little bit to be able to send that love. So then I imagine, the third bullet point over there, that says that we should try to imagine a barrier between us and this spirit. Usually the way that I do, I imagine like a bubble of light. The color that I like imagining is golden, but this is just my preference. You can imagine in the color that it better suits you. And so once, I was able to calm down, I kept reading the gospel more to like take my mind off the the experience than anything else. When I felt a little bit calmer, then I said a better prayer, and then my prayer changed a little bit. Instead of just asking for protection, I asked that the good spirits would come, would assist this spirit that was in need, would show the mercy of God, would show how loving God is. I try, to imagine some rays of love being sent to this spirit. And I am certain that there are so many other ways that you guys could deal with the same experience. This is just my experience. This is just my story in the way that I think, at least to me, is effective in helping me in situations in which I am afraid. And so to close tonight, this is just a beautiful message that I want to leave with you. This is a message from André Luiz. And he said, he is talking to the mediums, right? So he said, medium, the coherence of Spiritism teaches that the creature of true faith fears nothing but himself, okay? That we should fear nothing but ourselves, paying attention to his or her personal weaknesses. Because of this, it is right that you simply fear yourself in all the feelings that you have not yet managed to discipline. So this is what he's saying, that we should fear ourselves, all those shadows, all the feelings that we have not yet disciplined. If you are not afraid of the condition of interpreter for the verbal exchange between beings who speak in different languages, why fear the position of instrument between people located in different spheres in need of mediumistic cooperation? And I just thought that this was wonderful, because here he is comparing, the work of mediums as the work of an interpreter who is, helping people that speak different languages. Why be frightened in front of the disincarnate, who are in essence personalities just like yourself? Benevolent and enlightened spirits are precious mentors that deserve appreciation, and sick or unhappy spirits should not be feared because they need more love. Fear is inexperience. Correct yourself through mediumistic work, reasoning with the living gospel, and persevering in the task of fraternity. Do not admit yourself incapable of dominating your fear. React against any unfounded fear, keeping yourself in the tranquility of confidence, in the courage of faith, in the edifying reading meditation. And by doing your part, you will recognize that the benefactors of the greater life will make you discover in the mediumistic task the golden path of truth and the sublime portal of love. What a beautiful message, right? And so with this message, I end my talk tonight, and I am sorry if I went a few minutes over time, but I welcome any questions that you might have right now. I hope I am able to answer your questions.
Thank you so much, Angie, for your presentation and reflections about this lesson. It was really, really good, and I learned a lot from you. And yeah, we have some questions and comments in the chat. We have the first question here. How our beliefs influence the way that we can understand spirits?
I think they can influence tremendously, right? Because, if we believe that, as I said, these spirits are bad, that they are dark spirits, as some people talk, or that, they are something that we should fear, that, we should not mess with them. Usually, we are creating that inside of us. So first of all, you are creating that in your head. And second, we talked about vibration. We talked about, how the fear manifests and how the spirits that are around us, they can almost like pick on that fear. They can sense that we are afraid. And therefore, that is almost like fueling more. So I think, learning again is the key, because the more that you learn, the more that you will clarify things in your head and potentially improve all of it.
Yeah, it's like you said about vibration. It's like a radio, right? We synchronize the spirits that are feeling and thinking as we are. So we need to because I think most of the people have fear of spirits, especially the ones that I think even spiritists, people who are spiritists have fear. But yeah, as you said, as more we learn, as more we start, better we can think about it and we can overcome the fear, right?
Exactly. And as I said, myself included, I grew up watching some movies that made me scared. And I remember like being 14, 16, I would be, in the computer until late at night. And sometimes I would feel a presence and oh my God, I would run to my bedroom to go hide as if it would work, right?
I could never watch movies like this. Never. Even today. We have another question. Sorry. Larissa says, how can we help needed spirits if we feel them near?
Yeah, so this is a wonderful question. As I said, so usually what we can do is try to send good feelings, to try to send, feelings of love, light. We can literally, our mind, and this was something that I learned when I was preparing for this presentation. Usually, when we create, when I was talking about, imagining the bubble of light, or, when we imagine that we are sending light, that, this light is being sent, what we create in our mind is usually, a projection that extends to the spiritual world. Mm-hmm. So, sending light, as I said, asking for these spirits, sometimes we by ourselves, we might not be able to really help. But there are teams of spirits in the spiritual world that they are, they almost like specialize, let's put it like that, in helping spirits in need. How would they know that we are in need and that we have someone next to us that would need their help? When we pray, we synchronize with them. It's almost like the prayer is the phone call that we are saying, hello, can you help? 911, can you come and help? So it's through the prayer. So again, following these steps, the prayer is really important. However, as I said, when I woke up in the middle of the night, I was so scared. In that moment, even if I tried, I couldn't really send light. I had to first calm down, center myself a little bit until I was able, to then say a nice prayer, to then we have to be realistic. First. I'm being honest. We have to be realistic in here.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I need to say that I love the tips that you brought for us about how to overcome. And I think you brought 10 things that we can do, right?
Yeah.
And I think it is really good. They are really good.
I am sure that there is more than this. This was like what I could find in my research, but I am sure that there are anything that really would help you. Like when we talk about increasing your vibration, it could be even like listening to a music that can help you to feel peace, to harmonize yourself.
Spiritism music or treatment, right? This music, when I feel sad, I used to sing by myself, spiritism music. So yeah, and I start to feel better. So thank you so much once again, and thank you for your participation in the chat.
Thank you all. It was wonderful being here tonight. I hope you all enjoyed the talk.
Okay, we did. Thank you. And now we will move for the second part of our night in our spiritual treatment. PASS is the transfusion of spiritual energy with the goal of assisting with our physical, emotional, and mental balance. PASS helps us to restore a state of harmony and peace by replacing negative energy with healthy, positive energy. In order to receive the best benefits from PASS, please follow the audio instructions or remain in prayer. You may close your eyes to help with mentalization. During the PASS, the water you set aside will also absorb the spiritual energy that you and your family can benefit from. And now we are going to do our prayer in preparation. So once again, let's close our eyes, elevate our thoughts. Master Jesus, thank you for your mercy and for all the learnings we had tonight. We ask you and the good spirits to help us to absorb all the blessings of this spiritual treatment. May this treatment help us to feel better than when we started. In the certainty that you are with us today, tomorrow, and always, we thank you for everything. So be it.
Let us now prepare ourselves for the moment of the passes and the magnetization of water. Let's now calm our hearts, breathing in and out. Pay attention to your body. Focus on your breath and let yourself be carried by this energy. Let your thoughts pass by without judging them. Let them flow. Allow this light to be the beacon that guides you, and allow these words to penetrate your energy. Make each word an anchor of gratitude, faith, and trust. With the purpose of healing, which takes away my faith, healing every feeling of separation, of pain, let it all dissolve in this moment, leaving only love, gratitude, and trust. We ask God for the presence of our guardian angel and the friendly spirits who welcome us into this enlightened environment of our Spiritist Center. We open our plexus of love and forgiveness by mentalizing a light surrounding our hearts. Find a quiet and comfortable place to begin the mentalization process. Remove all worries from your thoughts. We ask that during the pass you breathe slowly and deeply. Let your body relax and surrender yourself to a deep meditation. Calmly imagine divine energies in soft and colorful light surrounding you in an environment of peace and spiritual warmth. Entrusting God with your most intimate desires, raise your thoughts to Jesus and the emissaries of the spiritual environment. The pass begins with the cleansing of your soul. Imagine a waterfall of crystal clear water pouring over us, removing all the feelings that keep you away from faith and trust. Feel the energy of this water bathing you and deeply breathe in, feeling peace and harmony. Allow this water to wash away all the impurities and spiritual larvae, washing away all the sorrows and resentments, any feelings of hatred and revenge that hold us back and cause us harm. not only from this life, but past ones as well. Now visualize spiritual doctors around you, applying magnetic cleansing passes, sanitizing your spiritual body of all sadness and negative energy. Mentalize these negative thoughts and feelings being washed away, evaporating from your soul, like water evaporating into thin air, and being carried far away from your mind. Surround yourself with the faith that bathes your being, bringing clarity and lucidity, rebalancing every cell in your body. May the water envelop all pain and bring the clarity of opportunity that chooses peace. The answer arises in our hearts, freeing us from all evil and freeing all whom we have caused evil into and who have caused us evil, washing away all the connections that bind us. Even though we may not understand, we are freeing ourselves from all that causes us harm. Feel this cleansing penetrate your soul and release. Now that we are spiritually cleansed, imagine yourself surrounded by the light of love from the hands of Jesus. At this moment, sing words of faith and gratitude, being faithful to the light that exists in me, planted by the zealous Father. Imagine the sunlight that surrounds and enraptures, freeing us from the chains of everything that holds us down, strengthening your faith. Allow yourself to trust in this light, surrender to it, involved in pleasant feelings and feeling relieved to receive the strengthening lights. Mentalize your spiritual mentors now applying divine light for the strengthening of your mind and your emotions, leaving you feeling emotionally revitalized. Let us now mentalize the magnetization of this water. May we mentalize all the friendly spirits, magnetizing this water and filling it with everything that our bodies, minds, and soul need, so that it may be of help to us when we drink it after the pass. Thank you, God.
So before we make our closing prayer, I would like to thank you for joining us tonight. And we will be back next Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. East. So now we are going to do our final prayer. Lord Jesus, once again, we want to thank you for all the things you and the good spirits have done for us. We ask your blessing for this week and our sleep. Please help us, our family, our friends, and all the humanity, teaching and inspiring us to think and act with love and charity. Please stay with us today and always. So be it. Have a good night.
Say me name wherever you are. Glowing seeds of love as our Master Jesus taught. There's a flame shining bright, tiny spark created by God. I will follow your path, Father, 'cause nobody's alone in life, and the stars of my destiny will be healed by your love. Ooh, ooh. Disseminate wherever you are, blowing seeds of love, as our Master Jesus taught. As our Master Jesus taught.